Almost everyone who watches Peppa Pig thinks the show is just something for kids that doesn't hide any secrets. But what if Peppa is actually keeping some secrets from us? Missing children. A lot of strange things happen in Peppa Town, and many fans believe these are not coincidences. One of the things that raises some questions is that even though the cast of the show is pretty big, with dozens of animals, some of them appear very little and don't stand out at all. It's normal to have background characters, but it gets weird when many of them are kids who apparently have some connections to other more important characters. An example is the little cow that is seen in the background of certain episodes. You might think she's just some random calf, but that doesn't seem to be the case since she sometimes shows up with Mrs. Cow, even making an appearance in the episode of her wedding with Mr. Bull. In other words, there's a pretty high chance that she's actually a daughter Mrs. Cow had before she started her relationship with Mr. Bull. So it would make perfect sense for her to have some lines or even a bigger character going to school with Peppa and everything. But that's not what happens. She really only appeared a couple of times and that's it. Why doesn't Mrs. Cow ever talk about her daughter? And why don't the other characters bring it up either? What are they hiding? This is just the first of the 9 things Peppa doesn't want you to know. So, grab your popcorn and get ready. Another Cinewave is starting right now. Television. One of the weirdest things about all of this is that probably the characters we see seem to know that something is wrong in Peppa Town, but they don't say it, either because they're scared or because they're literally unable to tell the truth. The second option seems easier to believe because of the episode TV Land, which gives hints that the TV shows watched in the town are meant to influence everyone's minds. Mummy Pig, even without paying attention to the Super Potato show her kids are watching, repeats what he says without realizing it. It's like the show is getting inside her head, and consequently into Daddy Pig's and the other parents' minds. And the kids? Well, no need to even mention it, right? The show could totally brainwash them. The show looks harmless, but that's only because we can understand what happens on the surface. It's probably full of subliminal messages, one of them being to keep the characters from thinking too much and asking too many questions about the strange things happening in town. That also explains why even the adults in Peppa Pig are kind of dumb. And let's not forget that this episode shows that Miss Rabbit is the one behind the production of the Super Potato show, which means the minds of the pig family and the rest of the characters are literally in her hands. Paternal grandparents. At least Mrs. Cow's supposed daughter shows up in the series, but what about Peppa's paternal grandparents? Daddy Pig's parents never appeared, to the point that we almost forget they even exist. The only grandparents Peppa actually knows are Mummy Pig's parents. Those ones appear a lot. Some people believe that the paternal grandparents don't show up because they live far away or something like that, but that's not an excuse, since Aunt Dottie lives in another country and even she traveled to visit her relatives, even though it took her a long time to do so. Besides, neither Daddy Pig nor Uncle Pig ever talk about their own parents, which strongly suggests they may have passed away. Well, it's rare for someone to still have all 4 grandparents alive, so that's really not far-fetched. The Wolf family. But what if they didn't die of natural causes, and instead ended up being victims of the wolf family? Wendy's parents are pretty strange. While most animals are totally peaceful, they seem to want to eat the pig family. At least that's what some scenes seem to suggest, since both Daddy Wolf and Mommy Wolf have asked Daddy Pig what his house is made of, hoping he'd say straw, the same material the big bad wolf blows down in the 3 Little Pigs story. Luckily, Peppa's dad is smart and always answers that his house is made of bricks. He always looks suspicious whenever he hears this question from a member of the wolf family. Just imagine if that's exactly because his own parents were their victims. If that's the case, we bet the one who committed the crime was Grandma Wolf, because it happened a long time ago, and of course because she's also very suspicious and looks way too much like the big bad wolf dressed up as Grandma. If you also think the wolf family is hiding something, drop a comment down below with #wolf. Mandatory laughter. One of the biggest cliches in Peppa Pig is that at the end of almost every single episode, the characters burst into laughter, even when nothing really funny happens. It might just seem silly, but when we think that the characters could actually be under mind control, those scenes become a lot darker. After all, it's not normal at all for everyone to always laugh at the exact same time. We usually overlook it because it's a kid's cartoon, but maybe that's exactly what the Peppa Pig production team is counting on, so no one ever notices the story the show is trying to tell between the lines. But remember this, every time the characters laugh all at once, they could actually be suffering and desperately trying to ask for help. Super Potato. Super Potato is one of the most unusual characters in Peppa Pig. He's neither an animal nor a human, but a vegetable, just like Mr. Potato. In fact, he manages to be even more unique since he has superpowers. Super Potato can fly, and he's also super strong. The thing is, we have no idea why he's so powerful. However, it's possible that the Hollywood movie where this superhero was the main character could give us a clue to the truth. The production is called Vegetables in Space. You might think that's only because it's a space adventure story, but you could also interpret it as Super Potato himself actually having come from outside Earth and using his past experiences to make this movie. After all, the character is clearly inspired by Superman, who is also an alien, and that's exactly why there are so few characters in Peppa Pig who are vegetables. The other vegetables, like Mr. Potato and Hash Brown, must be hybrids with Earthlings or artificially created beings, since they don't have any special abilities like Super Potato does. The problem is that neither Super Potato nor the other vegetables have good intentions, since all of them work presenting TV shows and movies. We already talked about how TVs in the world of Peppa Pig influence the characters' minds, and maybe the presence of the vegetables in these programs help with that. At the very least, they know it's happening. Humans. If there's one Peppa Pig secret that's locked away tighter than anything else, it's what happened to humanity. In the world of the series, the overwhelming majority of the population is made up of animals who walk, dress, talk, and work like us, but who aren't actually humans. There are only a handful of characters who are like us, but it seems that humans once ruled the world just like in real life. When Peppa and her family traveled to New York, they had the pleasure of seeing the Statue of Liberty, and guess what? It's a statue with a human appearance, exactly like the real one. Not to mention that the Queen of England appeared in the cartoon and she wasn't an animal either, which means the British royal family has always been made up of people of the same species as us, and that's never changed. And you know what else can change? That subscribe button. If you click it right now to subscribe to the channel and start getting all of our videos about your favorite cartoons. Trapped in Peppa Town. By now, you've probably realized that Peppa Town might look like a nice place to live, but it's actually full of creepy things that the residents never talk about. So why don't they run away? If Miss Rabbit really is able to hypnotize the other characters through television, then hypnosis might be what keeps them from escaping. Even so, we think there's one character who managed to get away, Aunt Dottie. She lives in another country and only visits her family once every few years. When Dottie came to visit them on Thanksgiving, she revealed that she had only seen Peppa when she was a baby and that she had never interacted with George, since she hadn't been to England in a very long time. It almost seems like Dottie is afraid of going there too often and ending up trapped again, right? Peppa's aunt, in fact, hadn't even told Mummy Pig that she was coming to visit. Was she really trying to make it a surprise, or did she show up out of nowhere because she was scared the information would leak and Miss Rabbit would come after her? Another character who also seemed to want to escape was Mummy Sheep, but she wasn't as lucky as Dottie. In the episode Susie Goes Away, Mummy Sheep gets a job on the other side of the world and looks really happy about it. Then suddenly a random phone call says she won't be getting that job anymore. Yep, the plan was completely ruined at the very last minute. Companies don't usually fire someone like that, but what if the one on the other end of the call was Miss Rabbit? Extinction coming soon. There have already been several times in real life when society thought the world was going to end, like in 2012 because of the Mayan calendar. Luckily, the human race hasn't been wiped out yet, but extinction might be a lot closer than we think. In the world of Peppa Pig. Don't believe it? Then think about this. In the cartoon, every couple is formed by animals of the same species, but the number of families of the same species in Peppa Town is shrinking. At Peppa School, every student is from a different species, except for siblings who studied together, like Peppa and George. By comparison, Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig were little pigs from different families who studied together. With the number of families for each species decreasing, it's only a matter of time before no one can find a partner of the same species to marry and have children with. That will eventually lead everyone in the world of Peppa Pig to extinction. It's an unavoidable future, and everyone knows it's going to happen. They just pretend they don't know because there's nothing they can do about it. Want to keep the fun going? Just pick on one of the 2 videos we left for you on your screen. Thanks, and see you next time!